This week it features filmmakers from all over the U.S., Iran, Turkey, and this mantis. Also features Roberto Hess, right here from Asheville, North Kakalaki.
What was I doing? Oh, I came on here to do something. There was just something I was gonna do. I had some purpose, I thought.
Haha, my order has shipped, and my ship will come
I will
in.
become the perfect version of myself. My body, my choice.
And I choose to send you nudes.
I spend hours filling up my cart and then delete everything because
Wanting is better than having. Wanting.
This is my post-workout body binge dream. This is my ultimate beach body.
trying to articulate who
I am.
I want you to think I am.
I just need the right filter. It happened again. I was standing naked in a shitty department store fitting room, surrounded on all sides by mirrors and violent lighting. I felt painfully still, looking at my bare flesh like a foreign object, until disgust and estrangement creeped into every corner of my mind. Why this body? Why are we so obsessed with bodies? The other day, I closed my eyes and tried to imagine what I look like. I tried to describe myself in words, but everything came out generic, like I was building a mannequin out of plain wood blocks. I don't know what I look like. You have to tell me. What do you see?
Basically, you take 3 flax seeds and a cornflake and noodles. Put them into your tongue.
Saw them all.
Pretty much. Suck them
Haven't
dissolve
gotten out of bed yet today.
And
I just love it. I'm
eat that twice a
addicted.
day.
I
But then you
don't
can splurge and have like.
know. I think
I just
I'm gonna
feel
start my
half of
own
a yogurt.
company. I just don't see why not.
Now I'm offended not just by insults about my body, but by compliments.
Every reference to my body is an insult.
Every mention of my body.
is depressing.
I never asked for a body.
My femininity is all a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Secondhand smoke.
The smell of smoke left in my hair when you blew your cigarette lungs into my face.
I cut my hair again and again.
Once I cut through everything that was for you, there was nothing left.
There is no woman
inside
me.
There's just a slab of meat at the center of a panopticon.
I had a dream once that I was crying.
Someone was breaking up with me. Her eyes pierced me like burning lasers, and she was laughing hysterically. She must have seen me in that department store fitting room.
She knew how pathetic I am.
I didn't recognize her, but when I woke up, I realized she was me.
Do you trust me?
Women have told me,
No matter what you do,
No matter what you look like. No matter how nice you are.
if you try to accomplish anything in life, people will think you're a bitch.
I'm just silly. I'm just like silly. I'm like a silly girl. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just silly. Just a silly girl. I'm kind of just a crazy bitch. I'm a girl. Bitch. I'm kind of a bitch. Crazy fucking I'm just a stupid crazy bitch drinking my dumb bitch. I'm just a crazy easy slut. I'm just a bitch. I'm like a crazy dumb slut. I'm just a silly dumb bitch drinking crazy dumb bitch. I'm a dumpster. I'm a crazy fucking cunt. I'm just a stupid fucking bitch. I'm a cruel slut. I'm just silly.
Am I beating a dead horse?
Everything has become diluted. You can exploit the fact that society commodifies its erroneous definition of woman to empower yourself.
Play their game.
Or reject it completely. It doesn't matter.
Nothing matters. Everything plays right back into a product, a trend, a brand.
I am deluded, unpacking and unpacking with nothing to put in the remaining void.
There is no substance, there is only the
Feminism
product.
is my brand identity.
I am an image, a body.
I'm too tired to resist the inevitable. The simulacra has become reality. My body crawls back and forth between screens and mirrors, noticing the difference less and less each time. Is there any small semblance of my real, original, pure, ungendered, uncommodified self inside me? Somewhere?
I tried to remember what it was like before all this. Before the photos. Before the words. I tried so hard to focus. It's gone. And then I bought some shoes.
My name is Roberto Heston. I write poetry and I drum along to it. And I have started branching out from what I've been doing all these years and working on putting a little bit more of a electronic album together. So I ran across this beat, so I'm gonna do my little freestyle at the end to do my poems. So thank you for listening. Watching pour gasoline, you put no effort in anything, and I'm proud to be packing, taking care of me, stacking all of this money. Yeah, I said it, go ahead and hate on me. I'm just trying to be the most honest I can be, and I just want someone who is honest to love me infinitely. Hey! So what do you think this is, boy? Who do you think I am? If you don't know the biz, well, you're about to understand. I'm the motherfucking earth, sun, sky, and moon, air, fire, water. You cannot keep me from turning, can't keep me from burning. And there's a whole lot more love to burn. You fucked it up, so baby, sit back and hush. You already had your turn. Let's do a reality check. There's nothing you have I need. I'm moving on to what is next. I call it business, you call it greed. No reason to be upset. There's nothing I won't get. Switch it. Been there, did it, now you see me. To justice I'm with it. Nothing righteous, nothing good about your house or your senate. You folks acted like you insane. It's my judgment that you should be committed. Where you at? Now that I'm on top, I should've left you a long time ago. I told you won't stop, can't stop. These cuts won't stop, can't stop. Stacking these bucks, what do you think this is, boy? What do you think this is, boy? What do you think this is, boy? You're about to understand. Thank you, guys.
This is a lousy sculpture. This is a lousy way of forming and shaping space. When I look at someone who manipulates stone and metal in such a haphazard way, it just makes me want to punch something.
I have had enough of the collections that have been placed at all of the corners of this museum's lovely garage. They say that they're trying to make more art by just putting it in the garage area, but I think it just looks like some kind of crumpled up cars at this point, and I'm not willing to buy this as an artistic statement anymore.
Okay, I thought it was more intelligent to have a critical point of view, and I succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. I looked at all of my friends, and in every single one I found plenty of things to criticize.
I have let go of even the idea of having close friendships anymore until I'm going to get to the point where I can be in control of everything that is said between us so that I don't have to listen to what they think my opinions of them should be anymore.
This strange kind of soft cotton batting came inside the plastic package, and I thought to myself, what's inside this stuff? I've got to analyze it and pull it apart thread by thread by thread, but it kind of vanished into a cloud of nothing.
It's a gun. It's a revolver. It's something that shoots this wadding, that shoots this blank across the room, that shoots it into someone's head with only a minimum of danger, but the explosion might contain the threads of an idea that I can put through explosion from me to one other person.
Throwing a beanbag right into a pillow.
Oh, my stomach is full of the heaviness of this curry or chili or whatever you wanted to call it that you stewed for days and days on the stove that you said would be like nothing I'd ever tasted, and you were right, but it's just weighing me down now, and oh, I have to get it out of me so badly.
The vitriolic bile of my acidic point of view is very useful because it burns and burns and burns away everything that's inessential and shows the bone underneath.
Do not put that down my throat. My throat cannot take it. Do not shove that down. Do not give me that down. My throat will not take it. I have to shove that back up. I'm going to vomit that back up in your face if you try to put it in me.
Frankly, the poisonous atmosphere which has developed in this office is frankly making me more and more and more aware of why I came here in the first place.
just going to ignore it. I'm just going to ignore office politics. I'm just going to ignore all of the poison in the air, and I'm just going to look at my empty sheet of paper. I'm just going to look at my empty computer screen, and I'm just going to do my job. No one else's poison has to get in here. No one else's danger and explosions need to get into my ears. Everyone can just go away, and I will limit myself to the beauty and precision of my own work.
My anonymous postings are renowned for the incisive critique which they project out into the dialogue.
My cataloging has been greatly respected by an online community of thousands of anonymous fans who love the way that I put one image next to another to make a brand new thought in their skulls.
The fashion of carrying fans and waving them in front of your face so that you can reveal and hide and reveal and maintain your anonymity at all times.
The air that I push from one side of the room to the other, that I push to make new systems and currents of patterns, that I push to make sound out of a simple motion of how the air molecules move.
The industrial strength system of circulation certainly means that it's as if we're high-pitched into a gale force sense of crisis all of the time. There's no relaxation.
I must wash my hands. I must use the harshest soap. I must use the dilution. The dilution of the soap is too great. I need the straight stuff. I need the lava. I need the lava to get it off my hands.
There's no paper towels in this bathroom. The only way to dry your face is to put it right under the hot air nozzle.
I'm going to blow the air out from my gullet across 3 counties and extend a fertilizing kind of hot blast that will lend the flowers of the vicinity more voluminance and power.
Spread out in a discoloration, a cloud that swept over 3/4 of the continent.
Did you feel how the dogs, the snow dogs in Alaska, are falling over as the bad air reaches them across the channel? Sad, dying dogs whining.
I went to this amazing memorial sculpture where the artist, a very young woman, had won a contest and created a deep hole and gash in the earth that was the exact shape of an intense national grief.
My placement in relation to the statues was intended merely as a kind of honor. It's been so misinterpreted, however, that I think I should perhaps turn around and carefully leave before anyone notices.
We all turned around. A whole group of us felt at the same time that there was something personal and private inside the pit, and out of a sense of delicacy, we all turned our backs. But at the same time, we were all still together.
Do you know of any insects that migrate? Here's one kind. The monarch butterfly. Today, there is much of interest in the migration of monarchs. One way to study their flights is to catch and tag the butterflies. Farther south, if caught again, the route of migration can be identified.
Once, you told me that back then, people could move freely. But it was the idea of a freedom that brought you here, to be an immigrant. Memories, objects, photos. You would try everything to show me your path, what your culture meant to you,
and how that was part of me as well. Although you never said it, I could see your regrets, Grandpa. The way you chose to do things, to leave Spain, in search of your own rebirth. As to escape, to restart. When I told you I needed to move away, you couldn't understand. Why keep moving constantly? Why start this all over again? You should stay. Don't do it like I did. I packed my things anyway. Why be an immigrant like us? Like you, I wanted my own rebirth, away from what I represented. Shedding my own skin, thinking that the place, Brazil, was the problem, when I was actually trying to run away from my own self, many times as I could. To escape, to restart. Soon, I learned their definition of me. Latina, immigrant. First my accent, then what I have to say. Sometimes ashamed of opening my mouth. Did you feel the same? Is that why you didn't speak Spanish with me? As to escape, to restart. Borders, walls, papers. Between small daily attacks is still fear. Why be an immigrant like me? Maybe for feeling so incomplete, as if nowhere could ever save me, until I find somewhere I want to belong to. As an immigrant, I learned to forgive myself, to build a thicker skin, so that I could keep moving, migrating like you did, in my own constant metamorphosis.
Looking out the window of a moving train somewhere along the Salish Sea, I came to the realization that certain questions were unanswerable. They say there's an image of a ship carved somewhere in the rocks, but I can't find it. Soon all of the vertical lines begin to look like masts. Thousands surround me on all sides. Maybe it's better off I don't find it. Everyone knows what that ship looks like, and it's the beginning of a whole other story. In the comics, the superheroes always have conflicting origin stories and paradoxical pasts. I never took this to be a problem, but a solution. A way of understanding history, which, contrary to popular belief, is not continuous at all, but a series of ruptures and contradictory accounts. He tells me about violent seas and of drowning, finding oneself among killer whale people. You could see their villages reflected along the shore, which reminds me, one day asked me to tell you the story of how I almost drowned on the west coast of Haida Gwaii. Notes on Nietzsche, briefly. Evidently, all ways of understanding the world are false. Lead takes 3,000 years to dissipate once it enters the soil. Even elements have beginnings, middles, and ends. I once asked a logger who'd spent his entire life cutting down the forest what was more dangerous, a camera or a chainsaw. And do you know what he said? Advertisements are always tragedies disguised as comedies, to suggest the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. In New Mexico, the tormented cries of dying birds could be heard for miles. I saw a butterfly and almost laughed. It was winter and deathly quiet. I wore a thrift store cowboy hat to protect my skin from the murderous sun. I passed through an Indian reservation with an old Spanish church and the poverty left in the wake of colonization. I meant to write, "There was no gold," but instead I wrote, "There was no God." In the saga of the Swamp Thing number 20, the swamp creature searches for the remains of his archenemy Anton Arcane, believed to have died in a crash during a previous confrontation. Upon discovering Arcane near death, Swamp Thing delivers this monologue. All stories are true stories. In the year 2000, the atmospheric chemist Paul Crutzen coins the term Anthropocene to define the human-dominated geological epoch we're presently in. A poem can be a political statement that pretends not to be making political statements. This occurs so often most readers no longer notice this is the case. prayer is the empty husk of spent poems. God did not utter his name, Dios. He was casting us out forever. Adios. In issue 21, Swamp Thing discovers the research conducted by Dr. Jason Woodrue, aka Floronic Man. Woodrue's research, conducted for the benefit of Sunderland Corporation, reveals that Swamp Thing is not actually Alec Holland, the man who died in a chemical fire and jumped into a Louisiana swamp while on fire. The Swamp Thing is actually the displaced consciousness of Alec Holland, a plant that believes himself to be a man. A poem can be an ideological trap. The current rate of extinction for plant and animal species is 1,000 to 10,000 times greater than the natural background rate of 1 to 5 species per year. This is due to human activity disrupting Earth systems. Humans and domestic animals make up 97% of the total biomass of land vertebrates. After the snow, we went for a walk in the neighborhood. Halfway to the tidal creek, we came across a patch of red in the snow. Some bird of prey, or maybe the coyotes killed a creature here. I thought the blood would scare you, but it didn't. On the way back, you slipped and I caught you. We had a good laugh as we jumped across the moat. A week later, those woods were transformed into an empty lot for sale. In 1980, there were 50,000 toxic waste sites in the USA. I visited one with my father on a road trip from Seattle to Montana. The Berkeley Pit is the largest Superfund site in the USA. Cats can't live in this town because the air is so toxic that they lick their fur and die. You caught fireflies at dusk and the stars came out in full bloom. It was July 4, 2018. You were 7 years old. In Swamp Thing number 79, Swamp Thing challenges Superman with this question. The old farmhouse and the adjoining woods were replaced by a storage building complex. Your mom and I lamented the destruction of that house. It was on the edge of town by the industrial farming facilities, but so close to the river and quiet at night. I just spoke with my grandparents over the phone. Grandmother went to see if grandfather was still awake. She said he really wanted to talk to me. He told me he planted a rosebush for me and Anna. He's painting the fence white again. He says he's waiting for me to come visit. I tell him I'll see him in the summer. It's dark out here, snow on the ground, probably 15 degrees. We say goodbye. Neither of us is much of a phone person. After spending the duration of the war in a Nazi coal mine, your Polish great-grandfather came to the U.S. sometime later. His first morning in the States, he woke up in a hotel in New York City, looked out the window, and uttered these words. A poem is a statement, and all statements are political statements. After years of travel and relative uncertainty, I arrive home sometime before midnight. The first thing I notice is the sound the cicadas make at night. The air is cool for summer and the garden desperately needs watering. You could not make up a world such as this. In Swamp Thing number 78, the swamp god becomes female and births himself into the world. A small bird appears along the shore, sticking it into the sand like a tiny hammer. We stop and stare in wonderment, and then you say, "Wait, I think some animals eat sand and take out the nutrients." I look at you and then you say, "Wait, no, that's crabs that do that." The bird continues on its unmarked path. We three turn and do the same. The entire universe unfolds like this.
me.